Good morning, traders. We're looking at a live session here. This is January 9th. Um, gonna wait for my perfect setup, but I'll be calling it out to you guys as I go along here. I'll probably speed up the video so that I can keep it short and show you what I'm looking for as I go. While we wait here just a minute, because I do normally wait for the first 15 minutes of the open at least, sometimes 30 minutes, depending on the structure. Just wanted to zoom out a little, back to the basics, right? Do this every day, zoom out, 15-minute time frame, figure out what significant levels we're looking for. We have a level here at the 69.66. Wow. Um, Several touch points in this area. We've got some here bounced off of. Similarly, here we have some consolidation and rejection. So maybe a little bit of a significant level there, but we're going to keep waiting. I wanted to call this out. Yesterday was a rough day as far as structure. You can see previously on the 15-minute time frame the kind of movement we get. We get this big push down, we get a rejection back up. Yesterday was just choppy as hell. It was all over the place. So lucky I came away with a little bit of profit, but I didn't wait for the normal structure I do normally look for my win rate, and just ended up getting lucky, I would say. If you see how big some of these wicks are on these candles, especially on the 15-minute, man, that's a massive wick, and they're all over the place, right? So we'll zoom back in here on the 3 and 1 minute time frame. You'll see me bounce back and forth between them. I usually use my 1 minute for entry, but I try to hold through the 3 minute structure, if that makes sense. I want to call out here, some people have asked about my Volume Force Pro panel. This is a very expensive indicator now. It's one that I bought years ago, but they're charging $300 for it. I don't know if I'd say it's worth it. I like it, but it's a tertiary condition for me that I'm looking at. I like to look for the crossover of that red line and the crossover on the bullish versus bearish side, depending on which side I'm leaning. So I don't know. I don't know if I'd say it's worth $300, but that's why I've been trying this VRVP. And this is just a free indicator that you can find on TradingView. It's decent, right? I think it's got some pros to it. It does call out what your bullish versus bearish volume has in here. It's hard to tell completely where that's going to go, but CME data is the biggest factor here. So I don't build it into my own indicator. If you notice here, we've got a pretty pronounced hook coming over on 3 of the 4 stochastics. A little bit of a wicking down here, but it did cross over the 9 EMA. Just a little early. I do like to wait for that first 15 minutes, see what the structure looks like. What I'm seeing so far is my hope would be that I'm coming up to this 69.88 level, looking for a double top or close to a double top, some consolidation at the top, and then a rejection and a push back down. And I would take it on the short side after it crosses over the 9 EMA, similar to what it did right here, right? You've overnight you had a little bit of a push up. Looks like you wanted to push that back down below that 9 EMA, push back up again to that 69.88 level and back down, rejected down to 69.69. So that would be the ideal setup. Or I don't have my full bias yet, and this is an advantage, I think, being a scalper. You don't have to have that conviction, that bias. You can still play on both sides of the market. So if it rejects off of this level here and comes back down to the VWAP, which it very well could, we've had consolidation here, we've got the New York Open, we can push back down to here to the 69.71 level and then look for a bounce back up. But it looks to me like it's going to stay bullish. Yeah, even bullish on the 15-minute. So let's zoom out here a little bit. That's okay. I don't get impatient when I'm looking at currently 7:37 my time, so we're at 9:37 New York time, right? I'm going to wait for those 15 minutes. That is a hard rule for me. I cannot trade in the first 15 minutes. By the way, as we wait just one more minute here, we did have a crossover of that 9 EMA. That's okay. I'm not looking for that first break of the 9 EMA. I need it to retract, pull back, and go for that second one. But I wanted to show you one of the things I do like about this VRVP free volume indicator here. It's got the POC, the point of control, right? And I called this out in one of my other videos. I think I called it more of an average price, but it is a point of control, and that's why I kind of consider it an average price. But it will tend to magnetize to this price because it's a point of control among traders. So we're going to wait here just another minute. Zoom out to the 3-minute, kind of like to see what my stochastics look like. Again, I like to trade on this 3-minute time frame. So I do look for these stochastics to be lined up, and typically I'm looking for the same lineup after that. I'll zoom down into the 1-minute time frame. Hopefully these 4 stochastics are somewhat similar, or at least the fast stocks are, and then I would take that short or long, whatever I'm looking for, right, as long as that quad rotation is lining up between the 3 and the 1-minute time frame. But I can take my entry on the 1-minute. So as you can see, we've got some pronounced hooking coming over here. It didn't quite get into the overbought conditions on any of these top 3 stochastics, and this slow stock here on the bottom, my 60 stock, is just dead set in the middle. It's not really telling us where it wants to go. So we don't have full confluence yet, and for me, that's a sit on my hands situation. I'm going to wait. Big move lower now. The 69.81, and it's, yeah, big move. But again, sit on your hands, because look at where we're at as far as structure goes. This isn't a quad rotation at all, right? We're not looking at a quad rotation on the 1-minute. We're not looking at a quad rotation on the 3-minute. It's got a hook over here, sure, it's coming down bearish. We would need to wait until it gets into oversold conditions now and look for that ramp back up like we had here, starting at about the 906 all the way through 936, right? That's what you should be looking for, is the pronounced hook on at least 3 of the 4 stochastics. Ideally all 4. That is the quad rotation after all. But there's a lot of times, especially on the 3-minute, that I will not need to play heavily on this last stock here. Looks like it could be a quick turnaround. Come down here, big move down, and an immediate bounce back up and cross over the 90 EMA. That's not ideal for us. We're looking for consolidation or a double bottom down here. It doesn't look like it wants to give us either. I've zoomed out here on the 3-minute time frame just because we're now looking for buys, right? That's why I flipped this over to a buy. We've got this pushback down. We could be looking at a double bottom right here, and I would just need to have it consolidate again down there a little bit because our stocks aren't saying that we're in oversold conditions. We need to wait. On the 1-minute, they're looking a little bit better. They touched into that oversold, at least on stocks 1 and 2. Not quite on 3. That's a big move back up, though, already. Not quite the level of consolidation or double bottom that I would look for, but you could call it a double bottom from here. We've already missed a lot of the move, though, the way it's wicking back and forth. It's going to look more like yesterday, and I'll zoom back over here to the 1-minute time frame. Yesterday was just, I mean, look at how tight this structure was. It just wasn't ideal trading conditions. No divergence yet, no real clear indicator of where it wants to go. These single bounces are also really hard to predict. You could get in here as it crossed over, but then it seems like it wants to pull back. It's just not ideal conditions here. My goal is not to force that trade. If the trade's not there, I'm going to wait patiently until it is. And maybe that means we don't take a trade today. But as you guys saw in my last video, I'm really focused on taking one trade and one trade only, and that's really helped my mindset look for that perfect opportunity, because if it's not showing up, I'm not going to just take a stab at it. There's no need to do that. I'm green overall on my account. I want to stay that way. As me, it looks like it wants to just sit here and consolidate, and I'm not really interested in watching the chart that closely. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm not really interested in watching the chart that closely if that's what it's going to do. I'll give it one more bar here, and then I may just pause the recording, come back when I get a little bit more structure, a little bit more insight into what the market wants to do today. If it's doing this, I'm not going to touch it. One more thing I'd call out, you can tell not just from the structure of the candlesticks here, the actual chart, right, but from our stochastics. There's no entry here. It's just chopping around, even on the fast stocks, chopping around here in this range, in this range, in this range, and especially this low stock, we're flat. We're not getting any movement at all. That's not something I'm interested in. That's not my strategy. That's not the quad rotation, and I won't play. Find us at the session out if that's how it's going to go. And I don't feel any FOMO in that. There is no real opportunities here. Sure, there's probably some ICT strategies you could get into that would say to take a trade here, and you got to hold it. If it's consolidating this much on a Friday when volume's a little bit lower anyway, I'm just not interested. So I don't play around with different strategies. I don't play around with different instruments. The only other instrument that I do look at times is MNQ. Now, that said, I do like to pay attention to what goes into the S&P 500, right? It's a bunch of tech stocks. So I do have this watch list where I kind of look at Tesla, Google, Microsoft, Apple, some of the big players in that space. In fact, I need to add NVIDIA. I got to add that thing. NVIDIA's been huge. I'm sure you guys know. I'm heavily in the AI space, so pay attention to all of this. Overall, though, it just doesn't look, it looks a very mixed bag. If you see, we're up almost 1% on Tesla, a little over 1% on Google. We're down 1% on Microsoft, down almost 1% on Apple. So it's just, the market's really torn right now on sentiment, and that's showing here. So I may stop the video there. I'll wait and see if I get a signal from my indicator here. I've got those set up, but I don't have to sit and stare at this chart. It's just going to make me want to force a trade, and I'm not interested in that. I'm not forcing a trade today. I'm playing too well on my green days. My hit rate is doing fantastic this year, even trailing off from last year a little bit, and I want to keep that focus. We'll see if we find an opportunity, but until then, I'll let you know what I see. Big flush down, as you can see. I actually zoomed out. So we were at the 982 level, 2 straight candlesticks down. We're now at the 69.59 level. So significant move lower. Looks like it wants to pull bearish. We finally got into oversold conditions here on at least 2 of the fast stocks. It looks like a bounce here. Again, I need to wait for some consolidation. And I'm just not sure we're going to get it today. I could take a lower risk trade, and what that looks like for me, this isn't even I don't know if I consider it even a B setup here, but I'd be looking at more of a five lots, 5 contracts that I may play here. So a lot less risk, but I still don't love it. I do have all 3 stocks here on the 1 minute looking pretty good. They're hooking back in. That close above the 90 EMA would be the last thing I'm looking for here. I do have my on-ramp. And I've even got a B signal for my indicator. It's just not my favorite, though. We're right at the point of control and the VWAP. So even with lower risk of 5 contracts, I don't love it. I would wait for a double bounce. I need it to pull back and give me some structure down here that tells me it wants to be bullish and move back up. But if it's just going to push right through the VWAP up to the top, I'm going to wait and look for another short. It seemed like we had more momentum to the short side anyway, at least on this 1 minute time frame. So we're still sitting on our hands. We're still waiting. And this is what trading can look like sometimes. Honestly, some of the best trading I do feels boring. It's not exciting. I kind of called this out. Elation is one of the most dangerous aspects of trading. If you get excited, you get into the gambler mindset. And let's face it, we're all a little bit of gamblers if we're in trading, right? There's an aspect to risk versus reward that we like. There's something that draws us into that. That's the gambling mindset. And that's okay. I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. That's definitely what got me started, was that gambling mindset. Got me passionate enough about trading that I wanted to be in here. I wanted to see what was going on. I wanted to understand it. Not just throw money down without any knowledge of what's going on. That's true gambling, right? We're a little bit more structured than that, I would say, in trading. We're not just walking up to a Vegas table, throwing down 10 grand and saying, hey, let's see what happens. Never played blackjack before. It's not that. But at the same time, that gambler mindset is something you've got to constantly fight against. And if it's that excitement, that elation that comes into play, that's the gambler's mindset trying to control you. It will mess up your trading. By the way, my indicator here, for those of you that are using it, I've got the New York range regime filter on. So this is saying when it detects a trend, it's only going to indicate buys. Trend down only sells. If it's ranging, it will do both buys and sells. And if I zoom out to yesterday, you can see it was ranging, and we got both buys and sells. Previous day, same thing. It kind of ranged here, and so I got both. And then over here, they actually called it, funny enough, whatever reason this was going on, after the New York Open, it was only calling out sell signals. And that's funny because it's actually a bullish trend overall, but that's something the indicator definitely mistook there. Definitely a riskier trade again, but you could have easily taken this bounce. What I didn't love about this entry, I'm going to zoom in here a little bit so you guys can see a little better. Look at the size of this candlestick, and my rule says I need to wait until that closes above the 90 EMA. Now, ideally, that's closing just a little bit above it, not so close that it could immediately pull back and kind of be a false signal. But I don't want it when it's already, we're 8 ticks above it. It's 8 points, I mean. It's a significant move higher and was already on that VWAP. I'm just not interested in that. So, I'm looking for a push lower. Let's see some support, and then I'll look for a bounce up. But we're nearing an hour after open, and I don't typically trade much longer than this. An hour of watching the chart is getting into dangerous territory for me where I worry I'm going to start forcing a trade. By the way, there are times that I will do this where I say, if I'm going to force a trade and I'm not willing to play with my with my actual prop account, I'll just switch to paper trading and say, great, if your mind has to force that trade, let's see what it does with a paper trade. Try to enter that same mindset, but really hopefully gain some experience of, yeah, that trade didn't work out even on paper trade. I need to just stay out when I feel this itch. And I'm not feeling that right now. I'm not even feeling itchy enough to want to go into a paper trade. There's just no structure here. That single bounce, again, I've called out the issues I had with that. I'm okay. I'm okay to sit on my hands. I'm okay to sit on the sidelines. Some more consolidation going on here around the top of this range, and this is interesting because even though my indicator says the resistance level is up here at the 69.83 or even the 69.87 level, you can tell there is some structure here. It is kind of holding this line. Yes, it's wicking up, but it's kind of holding this line since the open. What, about 15 minutes into the open? This has been the top of the range after that. Now, from the bottom of the range here in the New York, we were at 69.69 up to 69.86, but nothing about this, especially, let me zoom out here a little bit, nothing about this really screams that it wants to go bullish. It's a bullish trend, sure, I can see that, right? As we draw a trend line through here, you can see that it's a bullish trend line, but not in a big way. It's not these big moves we've had historically, and I think it's just kind of market sentiment is not sure where it wants to go. Similarly, I'm not sure where I want to go either. It's just too much consolidation here. So I got a bullish exit signal here on the 1 minute. That was the ATR, my 1.5 ATR. I'll continue to bring up and kind of show you guys my indicator. A lot of you are subscribed to this. So this is my ATR stop take profit levels. We've got a 14 length ATR. My stop is at 1.5 while my take profit is at 3. So it's a 2-to-1 ratio, right? And that's just it does typically work out pretty well that way. But I don't always play it that way. Let me put it that way. I don't always wait for that ATR signal saying, this is your take profit level. Again, what I would call here is a B setup, and I called out the reasons that I didn't take that B setup. I'm looking for A setups. It's what's got my account where it is. It's what's going to continue to keep my win rate high, my confidence level high, and my fear low. And really, fear is what it's all about fighting, right? You've got to get over that fear. But the way you do that isn't trade more. I think sometimes our brains trick us into thinking that. If I just trade more, I'll get less fearful. No, if you trade more, you're going to overtrade, you're going to lose, you're going to get anxious, you'll be more fearful. It actually reinforces that fear. Polar opposite of what you think. No longer looking for buys. I'd flip this over to a sell. Not sure if we're just not going to get that structure, though. I'm thinking we're not. And I may call this session. I may come back here in just a little bit, see if I get a little bit of consolidation at the top of this level because we are at the top of the range overall. So the 69.89 level, I would need to see a bounce down near the 90 EMA, push back up, and then the crossover the 90 EMA back down. I'd look for an entry. We are in overbought conditions across the board, which great. Even on the 3 minute, we're starting to get this slowest stock near that upper level of overbought. We're gonna wait it out. I'll check back in. You can clearly see we are very bullish now. Just continues to move up. If I zoom out to the 15 minute, we're almost through with this 15 minute candlestick right here. Massive move up, right? And look at this giant wicking bearish candle that immediately pulled back and is kind of respecting that 90 EMA. So I would very much call this a bullish trend. And now I just don't have much structure to play off of. It's got to come clear up here to the 7,000 level, 7,005. It's a psychological level, I know, but we've had a little bit of rejection off of it. It's just moving so fast. I may take a little bit of a lower risk trade here with a 25 tick stop. I think it's going to magnetize down to the VWAP, and it just seems like it wants to move erratically, and that's not ideal. That's a B setup at best. When you have erratic, non-predictable movements, it's just not ideal to get into the market, but we are getting into the quad rotation here. I'm not sure we're going to see a double bounce on any level. But I might play it for a very quick move. By the way, that tick keeps changing when I use the limit to kind of show you guys what this structure would look like. And then switch back to a market order. It continues to move the ticks based on price, so that's why you see that moving. I want to set that to a 2-to-1 ratio. I've actually been taking a lot of just 1-to-1s. And so what that looks like for me, I may have a 2-to-1 as my standard set take profit. But as soon as I hit that 187 risk to reward ratio, I can just close it. I can move my stop loss, break even. I play around with it that way. Got to zoom way back here to see much of the rejection here, but it did reject off of this level a couple of times, pushed through it a good time too. All right, we do have a little bit of consolidation here. We need that 9 EMA crossover. I may even play a little bit heavier here. This would be about 25 to me. Got a good off ramp. There's just not much volume up here, and that's the iffy part. So still very much consider this to be a B setup. Going counter trend, I would say it's a little bit more of a bullish trending day, but I do think it's going to want to magnetize back down to the VWAP here and maybe able to play a little. So some decent consolidation in here. Let's see if it crosses over that 9 EMA. And if it does, it's going to push fast. That's my guess. This is the scariest part is you want to get in now because you don't want it to flush low really quickly. But too many times you see this just hover over that 90 EMA, respect it, even bounce back off of it within the next 30 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and enter. It's early. It's not my favorite trade. Definitely a B setup. But it is going to close below that 90 EMA. The question is it going to hold? Normally I'm playing with about 12 lots here, so I will set up the ability to scale in, but I may not take that. You could say that it's going to want to come down here into the point of control, down to the VWAP, right? It's a little bit bigger move, and maybe there's no reason to take more risk than what I've already taken and scale in. Potentially. Most important thing for me when I'm in a trade is I just try to stay calm. I try to breathe and just not let my emotions take control. What I'm actually trying to do is recognize the emotions that are coming up, but not react to them. We have our stop loss above, above this structure. So if the structure wants to hold, we're in a good spot. Probability may still be on my side. I'm gonna zoom out here to the 3 minutes, see what this looks like on the stocks. Yes, we're looking pretty good here. If I get a crossover on that 9 EMA on the 3-minute time frame, I probably would scale in a little bit and a push for the bottom of this point of control. Go ahead and scale in a little bit more here. Looks like it's going to hold the structure I want it to, and I'm going to tighten up my 8 contract stop loss because this should be respecting the 9 EMA at this point. Good move. I'd love to just see it flush down, tap my take profit, and call it a day. But I'm up 270, 285. This is where I look to close. If I'm getting a minimum of 200, I consider that a pretty good day. I don't have any reason yet to say that it's ready to be done with this move. It's just starting on the slow stocks here. And if I zoom out to the 3-minute, it's crossing over that 9 EMA right now and just barely coming into the fast stocks on this time frame. So I think it's going to want to continue to move lower. But I would happily take that 330 that it's been at and call it a day there too. So we're pushing almost 400 level. Yeah, there's 405, 420. I'm going to go ahead and take the 420. I think it pulled back to 390, and that'll be a day for me. I think it is going to continue to move lower, but with these prop firm accounts, you don't want to push your luck and get into $1,000 win. They don't really encourage that, right? For better or worse. And I do think it's in some ways it's easier to trade that way and just take your wins and go. But in other ways, you could continue to push your risk to reward lower. That's okay. I'm taking almost $400 home today, and I'll leave it there. I should say I'm not taking it home, right? This is on my prop firm account, my challenge account. I'm now at 51, 251. It's okay. Great day.